We begin our report with a fear in the heart of the families of the nearly 240 people kidnapped by Hamas on October 7th. The Israeli military has confirmed one of the hostages is dead. The IDF says it discovered the body of the 65-year-old grandmother Yehudit Weiss Thursday near Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City. Her family has been informed. This comes amid new details about a potential breakthrough in hostage negotiations. Two officials with knowledge of the talks tell CBS News that Hamas may release a portion of the hostages in exchange for a 3 to 5 day ceasefire. But for now, the fighting continues. Israeli troops remain active around Al-Shifa Hospital for a second day. On Wednesday, the military found a small amount of weapons and other items inside the facility. This indicates Hamas has been operating out of the hospital, which is in violation of international law. Patients and medical staff still remain inside the hospital, however, including babies. The IDF says it has been able to deliver incubators, baby food, and medical supplies. For more on this, CBS News foreign correspondent Debora Patta joins us now from East Jerusalem. Deborah, what more can you tell us about this hostage proposal?
Well, John, the deal on the table is really prioritizing children. Israel is considering a proposal that would essentially see the release of an unspecified number of women and children in exchange for a 3 to 5 day ceasefire. And during that time, aid would also be allowed in. And part of the deal could see an equivalent number of Palestinian women and children who are currently being held in Israeli jails also being released. Now, it's unclear exactly how many Palestinian prisoners could be involved, but according to Israeli human rights groups, there are between 147 and 200 Palestinian minors in Israeli prisons and about 62 women. And of course, if released, one is not really sure where they would go, given that around 1.6 million Palestinians have actually been displaced and many of their homes have been bombed in the weeks and weeks of Israeli airstrikes.
Earlier this week, U.S. and Israeli officials were both pretty cool to the idea, or less confident, I should say, about efforts to release the hostages. What changed, and is there any way that obviously might be a template for even more prisoner releases? Or, excuse me, hostage releases?
Well, an early agreement was derailed, at least in part, by Israel's decision to send ground troops into Gaza after weeks of airstrikes. But Israel believes, they certainly seem to think, that by taking Al-Shifa, the hospital, which it accuses Hamas of using as a military command center, it believes it's deprived the group of a very key asset and that they might be more inclined to trade hostages. So, in a sense, the more they gain an upper hand in this war, the more they could see hostages returned. And in recent weeks, we've also seen a flurry of activity in this region. CIA Director Bill Burns met with his Mossad counterpart, and also in the region for meetings, President Biden's top Middle East advisor, Brett McGurk. But I feel I should always add a cautionary note every time we talk about hostages. Until they are actually being exchanged, the situation remains fluid, and that swap could be scuttled at any point by Hamas deciding they don't want to do it anymore, or the right-wing hardliners in the Israeli government saying they don't want to make a deal with Hamas.
Right, crucial point. Finally, Deborah, we've reported that Hamas has been unable, or says they've been unable to account for each of the hostages that Hamas is believed to be holding. How does that affect negotiations at this delicate stage?
Well, it's a very big worry because, you know, that is a complication in these final stages of the talks. Hamas's inability to account for each of the hostages, either because other groups are holding them or they're not really sure because they've been spread out across Gaza. Remember that there are other militant groups in Gaza, and they also are holding some of the hostages. Now, Israel is stipulating that accounting for the hostages must be part of the process. And if that takes a time, or they can't find them, or there are issues around that, that could definitely hold up the negotiations for some time.
Debora Patta in East Jerusalem for us. Thank you so much.